a gentleman who has been a huge supporter of CF from the very, very beginning. This will be his 31st time at the Ironman World Championship calling that race. Over 180 Ironman finish lines he has been there calling people across the line. He's a member of the USA Triathlon Hall of Fame, the Ironman Triathlon Hall of Fame. Please give it up for Mr. Mike Reilly.
Who are you?
I don't know if you've been introduced. I forgot what your name is.
Well, how you doing, start, Bob? I've got to give you guys a little bit of a hard time because here I am at Ironman Texas doing the awards, and you know the awards at Ironmans, they're great. You know, I'm seeing everybody out there; they're all happy, they're finished, and then I do the Tri Club Awards. I did 5th place, 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, and I look. There's my club, Triathlon Club of San Diego, 1st place. So hey, all right, now the 1st place award, Ironman Texas, Triathlon Club of San Diego. And other people have already come up, gotten their awards. Come on up, anybody from the Tri Club San Diego?
Crickets. Nothing. Nobody.
I go, wait a minute, maybe they're just cranking me. So I go, come on, there's got to be one person here.
Nobody.
Nobody. I go, well, what the heck? It's my club. So you know what, guys? I'm keeping this at my house.
It's yours now.
No, I can't do that, but there it is. They're under the new rules, too, as it was explained. So this is kind of a cool deal. So anybody,
way to go.
You take it. I'm not going to take it home.
Come on. How many hours were you out there? You were out there for 20 hours. Yeah, exactly. You take it. Yeah. So, not like we've done this before, but hey, growing up, what sports? In Ohio, right?
Yeah. I loved baseball as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, but my older brother wrestled, so I wrestled in high school and college.
How many kids?
6 of us, 3 girls, 3 boys.
A lot of wrestling going on.
Yeah, I was younger than, there was 4, and then I came 11 years later with a younger sister. So I heard about all the crazy fights at the older age, so I had to beat up my younger sister. It was great.
I love that. And what got you out here?
My brother came out here when he was 18 in the Navy. He's 12, 13 years older than me. So we'd come out and visit, drive out from Ohio, Mom and Dad and my sister and I, when I was in 8th grade. And I just couldn't believe this place. Went back and told everybody about California, and everybody in the Midwest was always saying Florida was the greatest thing. Yeah. Well, as soon as I graduated college, I graduated in June, and I was teaching junior high school here in San Diego that September. Came right out with my wife, Rose, who's back here. So as a matter of fact, the best story is she had to still, she's a nurse, she had to work 2 more weeks in Toledo. So I came out, and best man at our wedding, and another great buddy, had moved here. So the night she's flying into San Diego, we go out drinking, and we fell asleep. So I get this phone call, I don't know what, I just woke up at like 1 in the morning, and she was waiting at the airport. It's a wonder she didn't turn around and go home. As a matter of fact, she's told me that for 44 years. I should have turned around and gone home. No.
And you were out here when the whole running thing got going. And did you fell hard for that sport?
Fell right into it. Had Dr. Dale Sutton was a dentist here in San Diego, great runner. And I played racquetball with him, and he said, hey, you run? I go, yeah, I ran in college and high school to cut weight, to make my weight for wrestling. I'd run a mile, 2 miles, and he kind of smirked. He goes, well, Wednesday night, 5 o'clock, Balboa Park. We meet down there, and we do just run some trails. So I show up. I don't even remember what shoes I was wearing. This was probably 77, 78.
Yeah.
And there was a girl in the group, too. I'm thinking, a girl?
Running?
Yeah. Running. So we take off, and who's at the front? The girl. And all the guys are like, just on her, and she's doing these trails. Well, we ran 6 miles. I had never run 6 miles in my life. We had done Powder Hill, and I hung on for dear life. I couldn't walk for like 3 days. That girl was Sue Cran, and the next year she took 3rd at the Boston Marathon. So I discovered running, and we got into it. Opened up 3 running shoe stores with my brother.
Swift pair.
The Swift Pair.
That's right.
Yeah.
Running stores.
El Cajon, Kearny Mesa, and downtown. We had running shoe stores. So.
Yeah. And the running thing was going nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah. And now, did you start announcing at running events, or you just running running events?
No, I was running in running events, and we'd also go down to Fiesta Island with the Tinleys and do these little swim, bike, run, or we'd bike, then run, then swim.
Yep.
We'd change we'd
There was
we'd
no
do whatever
rule.
we wanted to
Yeah.
do. But then it was Lynn Flanagan, whose daughters now have the In Motion company that put on the Carlsbad Marathon. It was a 10K down at Mission Bay. And I got there. I couldn't run it. I had a bad hamstring. So everybody took off, and she saw me. She goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I got a bad hammy." I was feeling sorry for myself. You know how we are.
We're such wonders.
And she goes, "Well, I got this microphone and this megaphone speaker, and you know everybody. Why don't you call their names?" And she handed me, there was about 250 people in the race. She handed me a dot matrix printout. Remember? Yeah, I know. Now, every time I tell that, the laughs go down and down. So I got to stop doing it.
People don't know what the hell that means.
Everybody's dying off that knew what dot matrix was. So I said, yeah. And my only thought, Bob, was I can make fun of my buddies when they come on in.
Yeah.
So
you
I
look like crap.
I started calling, train next time. I started calling people's names, and I saw the looks on their faces, and it just seemed natural to me to do that. And so she kept asking, but I was entered in her races, and finally, one time she goes, "I really want you to announce this half marathon." I go, "I'm entered in it." She goes, "I'll pay you $150. I go, "Done deal. I can always run."
I can run afterwards.
Are you kidding me? You pay me to BS? This is great.
Yeah. And did that other race director start reaching out and asking you as well?
Yeah, it just started blossoming, and I'd get calls from LA and Orange County and Arizona. Come on over and do this and do that. And then triathlon came, and I wanted to be involved with that. So I did the first Super Seal, and then started announcing. And I don't know, I as much as I'd train all week long and then announce. That was I didn't have to race. It was great.
You're the only guy getting paid on the weekends.
I know. Everybody else killing themselves. I killed myself during the week, and I got paid on the weekend. I don't know.
So when did you go from your own running stores to becoming a rep? Because you repped some pretty classy, Saucony, Power Bar, some of the iconic brands.
Well, my brother and I, we sold the stores. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't want to go back to teaching. And then there was a sales rep that called on me from Saucony. I called him up. I said, "You got anything open?" And he sold me shoes and everything. We had a relationship. He goes, "No, but Saucony wants to put on this race called Share the Road 10K." He goes, "And they want to do it in San Diego. Will you put it on?" I go, "Yeah." So I put the race on. But he said, "If you put the race on, we do a good job, then I could probably offer you something." And I said, "All right." So I put the race on. They paid me, I don't know, not much money. It was a great race. I had John Walker come in. Mendoza ran it. Bill Roger. I mean, it was an unbelievable race. So we get done with it. It's a great success. The owner of Saucony came out. He was ecstatic. And about a week later, I called this guy up, Keith Kleppe, and I said, "Keith, great." He goes, "Oh, great job. The check's in the mail and everything." And I go, "Oh, yeah, what about that rep job?" "Well, we really don't have anything." And I kind of laid into him. I go, "You promised me." Well, I don't think I was crying, but I was almost. "You promised me, He said, "All right, I can give you San Diego and County and Arizona." And so I started repping, and he was an independent rep. We had Saucony, and we had Riddell football helmets. We had so many
balls.
And then I went, started an agency with Whitey Anson, and we had about 11 different lines we were selling in the 13 western states. So the great thing about my lifestyle is I was producing income selling during the week, and then on weekends I'd go to endurance events and announce. It was just a great world.
And you were there when Power Bar started, right?
I was the first Power Bar rep in the United States.
Yes. So what was funny about that, and you remember this.
Try selling that when the thing had chalk on it when you opened it up.
Oh, it did. And not only that, but I remember we were at the race down in Balboa Park, and it's myself handing out competitor magazines, Brian Maxwell cutting up the Power Bars, the original Power Bars, and Phil Tauber from Kashi spooning out cereal. And we're all like, I don't know if we'll ever make a living doing this. This is the silliest thing we've ever done. And we had to take the power bar, date nut or whatever, date malt, and it was December, and you had to put them on the dashboard and turn the defroster on to get this thing soft enough to cut them, because they were like freaking bricks.
They were
You'd
terrible.
break your teeth if you tried to bite into the thing, right?
But we were, idiotic triathletes and runners. We'd eat anything that made us go faster. So it was great working for them. And
Did you have any sense that thing would be a success? They sold for over $400 million.
Yeah.
But at the time, nobody thought this thing would catch on.
well, once bars started coming into the mix and the competition, I go, whoa, this is becoming a category.
It's an industry.
This is
yeah.
now nutrition. This is not something you buy at a pharmacy. This is our world. And so a lot of things came along, and I was repping drink lines. I mean, I'd rep everything.
Of course.
Sell
why
it
not?
all. Sell it all.
So when did you first start? You were doing some of the smaller triathlons, right? And when did you first get introduced to, hey, we'd like you to come over and help out at the Ironman World Championship? Or were you doing other, because there was no other Ironman. There was just Ironman Canada at some point, but there was nothing else in the U.S. When you went to Kona for the first time, was that the first time you had called an Ironman?
Well, first time I'd seen an Ironman.
Yeah.
I was always jealous because everybody from here, you and Mark and Paula and everybody would trek over to Kona, and I'd be going, I want to go. So I started training in earnest, at the end of the 80s to go over there. That's when Mike Plant called me and said, hey, Valerie, the owner of the race, I need an assistant. I told her about you and stuff, so she's going to call you. So she called me. We had a conversation, and I kind of said I'm kind of training for the race, which was stupid of me, but I was. But she called back again, and Mike said, do you want to do this? And I said, yeah, let's do it. So they gave me the package, and I went over there as Mike's assistant in 89 and 90, and I thought I died and went to heaven. 89, I'm witnessing Mark Allen and Dave Scott, the greatest race still ever. I'm witnessing from the tower. I looked down, and I put this in the book because it was still so evident, it just first of mind to me. I looked down, and there's this guy putting a harness around his chest, wrapped to an inflatable raft with a kid in it, and I was a special ed teacher, and I knew he had palsy or something, and I go, what is this guy just bringing the kid out on a Saturday to take him swimming during the race? And an official said, no, that's Rick and Dick Hoyt from Boston. He's doing the race with his son.
Yes.
And I go, this was all in my first year in Kona. I go, I think I'll keep coming back.
and so up until then, the course record in Kona that Dave Scott held was 8:28. And these guys Dave Scott and Mark Allen were side by side. They were together 1 second apart after a swim, 1 second apart after the bike. It's not like you had GPS or had a clue what was going on. You had a count on somebody calling in and saying, this is what's going on. But when they were telling you how fast they were running, you guys were like,
I didn't believe it. As a matter of fact, I would get splits. There wasn't a lot of cell phones, so they'd stop at a payphone and call my landline in the tower.
Yes.
It would ring, and I thought it was the president. Yeah, what's going on? So they gave me the first split of the first split was like some ridiculous 5:05 or 5:10, and I go, okay, go to 2 Mile and give me a split there. I'm thinking these guys are out there smoking wacky tobacco or something. So 2 Mile comes along, and the split is still like 5:15 a mile, and I'm going, wait a minute. Are they really? They gave me the 5K mark, and I go, well, they can't be mistaken this much. And finally, somebody got on the phone who I knew and was a runner. He goes, Mike, these guys, they're cranking. I think they're running like a 2:40 marathon. I go, no way. And that was the entire day and so the thing about that then, there was no internet or anything, so I had the color commentary of trying to explain to everybody what was going on, and I said they're like two titans, they're just next to each other, they're not talking to one another, and I tried to build a visualization, which I talked about in the book, of them running side by side. So I told everybody you could tie a string from one shoulder to the other shoulder of these two guys, and they wouldn't break it. They're stride for stride. And that's the way they had ran the entire day until Mark broke them at the end. And the most amazing part is I was down. Mark finishes, his dad's there, everybody's there. It's just great. Dave comes in, and his then wife, Anna?
Anna.
Anna is
With the
there.
little one.
And Dave, the champion mindset is the first time I saw this mindset in someone so intense. He knew Mark had pulled ahead, but he came in and he looked at Anna and said, I didn't win? No, Mark, you came in second. He couldn't still visualize it, even though he knew Mark went ahead and beat him. The champion mind it's when I go, wow, this is a guy who is so ingrained with winning, even when he doesn't, he has to ask. It was like a bad dream. Did I not win? And she goes, no, you were second, Mark. Yeah, Dave, and just walked away. So
well, and I remember Carol Hogan, one of the reporters who was there at the finish line, said like, Dave, you lost. Like,
yeah.
Dave, you lost. And he goes, Carol, I didn't lose. I just ran out of time. Right. So that's the mentality.
Yeah.
That mentality, when you're a champion, it's really hard to look at it and say, well, I'm not a champion right now. But you know what? We had another mile. Come on, Mark. Let's go run another mile. Let's see what happens now.
Yeah.
It changes everything. That moment was really cathartic for our sport, because up until then, besides the Julie Kathleen, we really didn't have a race where the people were side by side like that, and now we did, and it changed everything.
It did. It changed it all for the better. I mean, it's funny. Dave and Mark, even today, Patrick Lange, he's on the picture grabbing my head, and I thought he was going to kiss me on the lips. But even today, I mean, Dave and Mark goes, these guys are not running fast enough.
Right.
They're not running fast enough. What's going on? So,
well, because you think about it, they ran 240 and 241 in '89. Patrick Lange ran 239 30 years later.
Yeah.
And so it made a big
took
difference.
30 years.
Yeah. So speaking of that, when Patrick Lange comes across the finish line, I don't think we've ever had anything like that before. I'm sure you've seen it, just regular, average, everyday people proposing. But having the guy winning the Ironman and then proposing, you were probably as shocked as she was.
Well, it's funny because I've seen a lot of proposals at the finish line. I've seen a lot of, I might as well say it, bended knee. Yeah, I'm watching Game of Thrones. So I've seen a lot of, at Texas last week, a woman went down on her knee and proposed to her fiancé when he came in. And it's like he expected it. Took the ring, the whole deal. I go, it's weird. Anyway, so every time at the finish line I see this, and I know when it's going on. So when I was interviewing him, and I said something to him, and he's answering a question. Then he said, and Mike, Julia. As soon as he said that and looked at her, I go, oh my God, I think this is going to happen. And he started walking towards her, and I think he's going to propose. I'm like a fan like everybody else. I'm screaming. Now everybody's going nuts, and he gets down on his knee, and he proposed. It was so pure and so perfect, and it was thank goodness she said yes.
Exactly. That would have been the worst. Get out of here.
I've never had a no, but in Australia one year, and I knew this was going to happen, the guy came in, and she was doing the race, so she came in a little while later. He's waiting for her, gets down on the knee, and I got the microphone, and he says, Julia, whatever her name was, will you marry me? And she hesitated. She hesitated, I think only because she was tired or whatever, and I'm going, oh no, don't. We can't I'll think about it. So then she screamed yes, and everything was good. So
where did "You Are an Ironman" come from?
It came from a conversation. I didn't think it up. I didn't stay up one night. I've got to have my call. I got to have this phrase, my signature. Nothing like that. I just wanted to, I would call people a champion when they come in. You look fantastic. And by the way, that's why they like me. I tell them they look like $1 million and they're drooling, they're leaning.
We got a leaner.
We got a leaner. You look on, Mike said I look good. Honey, let's get in the tent here.
Let's get your IV, get your pizza, get the hell out of here.
So I'm walking down, it's 1991. I announced the race, 89 and 90, never said it. 91, I'm walking down the street, and I see a friend of mine I run with in San Diego. His name's Dan Trone. By the way, I didn't know, I didn't find Dan until I wrote the book. I knew of the guy I talked to. I hadn't seen him in 25, 30 years. Anyway, so I see him on the street. He had done the year before. He's Ironman. I've trained with him, fast runner. And I go, how you doing? He goes, I'm not doing good. What do you mean? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do that great. And he always had this confidence about him, but then I go, what's wrong? Well, I didn't have a great race last year, and I'm thinking that's going to be the same thing this year. I go, you can't have that attitude. I've been running with you. You're fast. You'll be good. You'll be all right. So we walked away from each other, and I thought it odd. Then the day before, checking the bikes in, I see him. I go, hey, Dan, what's up? He goes, yeah, how you doing? I go, geez, you'll be all right tomorrow. He goes, yeah, I know. You tried to give me a pep talk. I said, don't worry. You'll be an Ironman tomorrow. And he said, all right, and he walked away. Well, the day goes on. People are coming in, and back then we were binoculars looking at the numbers that are crinkled up, trying to look at a sheet, the whole deal. So I see him. I spot him. I go, oh, my God, I got this one, who I was announcing with another guy. I said, I got this. So here he comes from San Diego, California, Dan Trone. You are an Iron Man. Like I was putting it in his face. I told you so. But it wasn't that aggressive. I just, you are an Iron Man. And he looks up and he goes like this and he points at me, and then I hear this roar from the crowd, and they really didn't know who Dan was, no one in particular. And I go, whoa, what's that? So the only credit I give myself, I kind of noticed, could read the crowd. I go, yeah, he is an Iron Man. Okay. So I said, I got the next one. Guy's coming in, and I yell, he's an Iron Man. The crowd even goes crazy. Oh, yeah, you're an Iron Man. I go, okay, this is pretty good. About 4 later, here comes a woman. I got, 8 seconds to go, all right, she's an Iron Woman, yeah. This is an Iron Man event, she's an Iron Man, yeah. Here I'm talking to myself. So I just, went with the gut, and I said, you are an Iron Man. Now there's also, she's pointing at me and everything. Oh, good.
She's not suing me.
Good. And then at the Ironman Australia, it was like a year later, a woman came up and she goes, you going to say that to me? I go, yeah, say what? This is the first time anybody ever asked me, you going to say that to me? And I go, call me that. Well, I'll call your name. No, you're going to call me an Iron Man. You're going to say that, aren't you? I go, yeah, I will. And I did, and she was all happy with it. So that's where it came from. It was just me confirming to a friend that he was what he was because he didn't have the confidence the day before, but the crowd reaction, the reaction of the athletes, it's turned into this, it's turned into, you got to read my book. It's turned into.
Well, but the other side of that, when you first started this, finish lines were, okay, here comes Jim so-and-so, number 398, his time is this. It was very mundane. It was very monotone. It wasn't entertainment. And what you've done is you've made that thing a happening, right? People stay around till after midnight at all these races because you're dancing and there's music. Not that your dancing's that good. But the music, and yeah, it's good. The music, and just, when did you start thinking there needs to be more? We need to choreograph this. We need to make this more of a happening.
To me, it was just, in my mind, a huge travesty if somebody went 140.6 miles and they didn't get what they deserved. That to me is I can't fathom that. So what I try to do is raise the level with every finisher and I'm having a one-on-one conversation with that person coming in. That's how I look at it. Because people go, God, doesn't it get old and mundane? You've said it almost 400,000. No, it's the first time every time. That person's hearing it for the first time. And I don't always know what the backstory is of that human, of what they've gone through to get to that start line, let alone the finish line. What maybe they, I've got a lot of things in my book about what people have gone through. Life is tough, and I want to make sure they receive all the accolades. So I tell the crowd, you better go home with sore hands and sore voices. Do not let somebody pass you by and you don't put your hands together. We don't need to gawk here. We need to let them know we're here with them. So, and crowds now, they know when I'm there, oh, Mike's going to, and I'm pushing like, hey, what are you doing? It's a little too quiet over there. Okay, and I want them to go home because that athlete deserves everything. They deserve it all.
What? Yeah. Exactly. When did you start finding that people were actually making their schedule based on where you were going to be, right? People go, I've been there where people come up, listen, I'm doing Placid. Are you going to be calling? They want to do the races that you're doing.
That's, it's very flattering, humbling. There's other great announcers that I've had the pleasure to work with and help mentor, and they do a great job of saying that. But I think it's only because I was the original, and my voice is probably more recognizable because I've been around a long time. But the words, they mean as much if they come from someone, in my mind, from someone else to you. But people do, I'll put the schedule out, and what I get mostly is like where I'm not going. How dare you not go to Chattanooga? Mike, I've been training for 3 years. They're like making me feel like I should change my mind, but the schedules, I can only do so many, and I try to hit. And if there's first ones, I always go to the first ones. I'm going to Ireland this year, go to the first ones and set it off right. And so I don't know. It's just weird that people say that. I can write another book of what people say to me.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing when you're calling people want you to call them across the line, and like you said, a lot of them you don't know their backstory. But John Blaze, Man Blaze. Dick and Rick Hoyt. Those backstories. And calling them, Sarah Reinertson and Rudy Garcia. Talk a little bit about the stories that mean the most to you. Because you're there at the beginning, and then you're there when they've basically proved to themselves they could do something maybe they thought they never could do.
Well, through the years, the stories that have always meant the most to me are the people that I have a personal relationship. So if Bob Babbitt finished, or Bernard finished, or anybody in this room that I know, and Tracy, I always give it a little because they're friends, family. When I'm not going to give it away. Read chapter 17, my best call ever. So, but then I get to be involved. I look around the room and I see Winnie, and I see Norman, and McKeely, and I've been a part of all those people's lives in a certain way. But when it comes to people like Sarah and Rudy, when it comes to people like Heinz Ward doing an Ironman, people who really shouldn't do this race. Right. People have told them their entire lives they shouldn't do it, and all of a sudden they get to that finish line, and I get to make that call. It's an honor beyond belief, and I get immersed with the stories because, like we know them. I've seen them. I've been following them for years, and everything's happening. And when I turned around in my tower and I heard people screaming and yelling behind me, and I saw Sarah on the side of her bike, hands on her legs, crying because she missed the bike cutoff. And I knew what kind of training, what she was going through to train for that race. And I'm looking back there going, are you kidding me? This can't be happening. I almost started crying. And then I get a tap on my shoulder, and I got a finisher coming. So I got to go to another mode, and because that's what I do. But in my mind, I'm going, my gosh. So a part of me wants to get very close to everybody. The other part of me wants to stay neutral so that you all get what you deserve. It's just so when family and friends and people I know and have known since Rudy since and people that come up to me and go, hey, I've been listening to you. I'm 60 years old, and my brother did the race, and I've been thinking about this for 15 years. Now you're going to call me an Ironman. I hope to God I'm not in the bathroom. People always come up and they go, you took a break when I was... Well, I really don't take breaks. I don't take breaks. I don't go sit and go, hey, I have a cigar. I don't. I just run to the bathroom, and trust me, I peed in Gatorade bottles in the tower when we were up high so I could stay there. But I can't do that anymore. The low stages, everybody sees me. I can't do that.
How do you do so many announcers, we've all heard them. They start out great, and then a few hours in, their voice is gone, right? You never, if I did your job, my voice would be gone in 2 hours, easily. How do you do that? How do you recover from doing, how many Ironman basically do you do a year? Is it like
I did a dozen last year. I'll do 11 to 12
11.
this year.
And your day goes from 4 in the morning till 3 in the morning, basically? 2 in the morning?
No, after the finishers at midnight or 1, it's breaking down, and I'm back in the hotel room by 1:30,
Okay.
2 o'clock. So,
Oh, so it's only a 23-hour day. Yeah, it's no big deal.
yeah, don't make it a long day.
It's no big deal.
People always go, they look at me in the morning, God, Mike, you have such a long day. I go, no, it's a great long day. Oh, yeah, it's a great day. You turn around. I don't look at it as a long, arduous day. Right. I look at it as every hour we're going to see a new memory. Something new is going to happen. Somebody's going to have their dreams come true. And their 11-year-old daughter or son are going to see mom or dad finish an Ironman. Look at that action is speaking louder than anything in their life. It's a long day, but it's a great long day.
It's a celebration.
It is a celebration.
Beats beating in a cubicle.
I will say I'm a little more beat up now, at my age now, which I'll never say what that is, than I was at 35. I remember Kona. I was about 40 or 41. I called Kona. Felt so good. I think Andy was with me. My son was with me. And when my bike was, I rode 80 miles the next morning out on the road and came back and then did the awards that night. And I go, well, I can't do that anymore. Well, I probably could, but I wouldn't be at the award ceremony. So.
And you did get to call your son across the line.
Yes, I did. You got to read the book. It's interesting, the process of putting this together. People always ask me, and Bob's written some incredible things. As a writer, I've admired him. As a matter of fact, it was this guy 15, 20 years ago. Mike, you got to do a book. There's so much stuff you're seeing. You got to do a book. And it's always been in my mind, but it was like a never-ending story. They just kept coming. So when I finally put it all together, the real reason is because I've been so inspired and motivated by things I've seen at finish lines, things I've seen people getting into the start line, that I thought it'd be selfish not to pass on what I've been seeing. And I get to sit in the front row of the arena and nobody else is in the row with me, and I'm looking into people's eyes and seeing what's in their hearts. I see it at every race, and I can't get enough of it.
That's so cool. Is there a passage you wanted to read from the book?
Yeah, I do. It's interesting because when I was thinking about you are an Ironman and what it means and what I think about when I say the words, and it took a while. It took me probably 2 or 3 months to put this together, but to understand my perspective on this phrase I've uttered some 400,000 times now. Listen in on what I try to keep in mind when I say it. You are an Ironman is not an endorsement of what you did today. It's a certification of what you became. It's the last step of a rite of passage that has changed you forever and stamped you as special. You are no longer among those who have never known the gratification of an immensely difficult task done well. You've stepped through a doorway and joined a very special, very exclusive club. And no matter how the rest of your life goes, you will always be an Ironman. Doing the race was your initiation. You are an Ironman was your swearing in.
Nice. Love it. Love that. So, do you get other requests from people? You've called people obviously across the line. People calling you, going, "Hey, listen, I got this guy's voicemail. I want you to leave something on his voicemail."
I've left so many voicemail. I've called a couple down the wedding aisle with a video, with an audio recording. They were both Ironman athletes. So Rose and I were in the car on a Saturday night coming home from a movie here in San Diego. I get a call from Doug Kaplan, who you know, from Chicago. And he goes, "Reilly, where you at?" I go, "I just got out of a movie with Rose." "Well, what do you mean? You're not here? I'm looking for you." "Looking for me where?" At the wedding. And he said the names, and it hit me. I go, "No, I'm not there." "Holy crap, you just brought them down the aisle. You just called them an Ironman couple. You're married for the rest of your life. That was a recording?" I go, "Yeah, I did a Are you kidding me? Did they pay you for that?" "No." "You should have got money." He thought I was there. But I've done a lot of weddings over the, recordings. I did a very special. I did an announcement of what the baby was, whether it was a girl or a boy. The doctor, the parents gave the permission. The doctor calls me up, said, "Okay, here's the results." So we did it on a video out in my backyard. I had a blue balloon and a pink balloon. It was a girl, but I said my bit about the mom and dad, their names. They were all at a, what do you call that? A gender reveal party. They're all at the party, and I'm going, "This is Mike Reilly. I'm the gender reveal, the whole deal." I'm holding the blue, and I got a pin in my hand. So finally, I go, "Oh crap! If I do the blue, the pink's left. If I do the pink, that means it's a baby girl." I'm going, "I can't do this wrong. I only got one." So I got rid of the blue, and I popped it, and I said, "It's a girl." Well, I saw the video of the family watching and those guys hearing me and seeing me do it. They didn't know I was going to do it. They were both Ironman athletes. They're crying and everything. At Ironman, Texas, I got to meet the baby. Little Gracie, yeah, I got to meet her. Had pictures with her, and there she was. And she's so cute. I took a picture of her and sent it to Rose. I go, "This is the baby. You videoed of me." And right away, she goes, "Bring her home." She was.
We need one of those.
She was so cute. It was just that's what it's all about.
So speaking of weddings,
oh jeez.
So Mike asked me and was very, very kind to be the minister for his daughter Erin.
Well, my daughter asked you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Erin asked me.
Yeah, Erin asked you.
Yeah. Erin asked me, but I figured you probably pushed her.
Well, no, I didn't, because they didn't. They said, "We'd like to have Bob Babbitt be our officiant." I go, "What?
That loser?"
They show up in shorts and aloha shirt. This is a wedding. So she goes, and I said, "What's your reasoning?" And we were all for it. Well, because Bob's always been in my life, and he'll always be in our lives. And that's why, I don't know if you knew that. That's why she...
Wow, that's pretty cool. So then what happened is we're at the carbo party in Kona with 5,000 people out there. And when Mike's introducing me, it's like, "Hey, it's Bob Babbitt, 6-time Ironman finisher, Ironman Hall of Fame, USA Triathlon Hall of Fame, and he just married my daughter." I didn't think anything of it because both of us knew what he meant, but nobody else knew what he meant. Everybody's learned. They come up and they go, "Reilly, you let that old loser marry your daughter?"
So I come off the stage, and Rose was looking at me with daggers. Then all of a sudden I see Heidi, Bob's wife, coming at me and go, "Oh, my husband's got another wife?"
And she goes,
"What are you talking about?"
She said, "I could use the help. Thank you."
And I said, "What are you talking about? You said Bob married your daughter." Then random people, "Really, dude? How old's your daughter?" I go, "Well, she's like 20. And then I go, and so I tried to go back on stage to explain to everybody. The guy's pulling the mic out of the stand, the sound crew. I go, "This can't happen."
I was high-fiving everybody in the crowd. I was like the hero of the 60 and over group. Everyone was like, "Dude, 24? Yeah."
So that was Thursday night. That lasted Thursday night, Friday, all day race day until I got on the stage Sunday night. "Hello, everybody. Bob Babbitt was the officiant at my daughter's wedding." He wasn't, and I hear the sigh like, "Oh, yeah."
Oh, good. Yeah, oh my God.
But then a guy comes up to me and he goes, "Mike, I got to tell you, I was at 80 miles of the bike. I'm dying. I'm having a bad day." And then it popped into my head that you let Bob marry your daughter. And he goes, I couldn't believe it. And I kept thinking about it. How could Mike do that? He's a good guy. Jesus, Bob. And he goes, all of a sudden, that bad bike ride, I was in T2 transitioning. So, like, thinking about it, I'm glad I could help, buddy. Jesus.
We're here for you.
We're here for you.
Whatever you need. That is so cool. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for Mr. Mike Reilly? Yeah. Love that. Woo! And Mike will be back there.
There's only
Whoops.
how many books we got left?